You know who loves a good anthology series? This guy. And this week's episode of the Red River Horror Podcast, that's episode number 108. Eddie and I will discuss Them, the Scare, the second season of the Them anthology series on Prime Video. Season 2 premieres Thursday, April 25th on Prime Video. Sit back, relax, and let's go down those channels of fear. And welcome back to the Red River Horror Podcast. This is episode number 108. Of course, I am your host, Joe Zakreski, joined by RedRiverHorror.com founder Eddie Cayazzo. Hi, Ed. How are you today?
Joe, I am doing fair. I am fair. Yes. How are you?
You know, I'm doing well.
That's good.
Doing well. Surviving, getting through. So it's been a little bit, but we are back at it, and we are talking anthology series. It's only their second season for them.
Yeah.
On Prime Video. And just before we get into it, I would just want to address, you know how I feel about anthology series is
I do.
Forum. And I have long been a silent supporter of American Horror Story. Just being like, hey, even when it's bad, there's still some good moments.
Really?
Yeah.
With American Horror, so you've gone through, you've run the gamut with American Horror Story, and you are willing to say that even some of those seasons that were bad, you hung with the show and you've come out on the other side happy?
There's usually something.
Okay.
And this current season that's about to wrap up, which is in part 2, has been probably some of the worst television ever produced.
Okay.
Why? I don't know. It's so bad that I can't, I don't understand why they pull the plug.
So my policy with American Horror Story is, that's one thing I noticed, Joe, because as you know, we even signed up to try and scare me as part of their first marketing promotion. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
So I was in when they announced American Horror Story. I was very excited about it, and the fact that it's going to be an anthology. I'm not as big of a fan of anthologies as you are, but the marketing worked. I was pumped for AHS. But one thing I did notice is that when it was good, and when it was bad, it was really, really bad. So that's something I kind of knew early on. So I only got to about Hotel.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, was Cult after Hotel?
Yeah.
All right, so I got through Cult, is what I'll say. So I got through. I loved Murder House. Coven was fine. It was a little weird. Not Coven. The Asylum. The Freaks one. That was the third season.
Freak Show.
Yeah, Freak Show. That was But I did like Coven. I enjoyed that. So it's I like Murder House. I like Coven. Hated Hotel. Thought that was terrible. We got to Cult. That was a little weird. I'm like, you know what? I'm out. So one thing I noticed with AHS specifically is that when it was really good, it was good. And when it was bad, it was really, really bad. So.
And they did a good job tying it all together with Apocalypse. But moving on right now, this current season, which is called what's the current one called? Either way. So we got Emma Roberts and Kim Kardashian in the leads. And she is just delicate is what it's called.
Delicate, okay.
And I don't know.
So I heard...
I don't really have a big thing about the Kardashian. I really don't care.
Mm-hmm.
But her screen presence and just delivery is atrocious.
Yeah.
It's so bad.
You have to expect that. I guess you can always hope.
I do, but it's unbearable. I don't know who thought this was a good idea.
Wow.
Emma Roberts can hold her own with anybody, and even with her, there is a really it's the skill set is so drastic that that's where you can see it. Like if you had a lesser actress, going with Kim Kardashian, if they're both not so strong, it'd probably gel better. But you have someone who is a very good actress with someone who's not, and it's just very glaring. Like whoever has to edit that is, your job sucks.
Okay. So that's American Horror Story. Sadly, I mean, I did not have high hopes after once we got to Hotel. For me, I'm like, I'm just not in. Like I wasn't like it used to be must see TV for me. Even the bad stuff, like I even hung after Asylum was like meh. I still had to tune in, and I did. But yeah, I could totally see it just dropping off. Apocalypse, you said was good though. You liked the Apocalypse season?
Oh, I didn't say it was good. I just said it tied everything together well.
So it strayed. So it strayed from the Well, no, that does not make it an anthology, but I guess it tied things together throughout everything.
Pretty much tied in the Murder House to Coven to Hotel. It's not all of them, but what was the other one? Election had some really good moments in it.
Oh, Cult
had a really good twist. And then the 80s slasher themed one was weird.
I did want to watch that one too. I will say that one got enough to me that I'm like, I should probably check that out. I never did, but
check it out. It's definitely not what it appears to be. But Billy Lord is awesome. So
wow. So thankfully, Joe, because AHS crapped the bed for me at least earlier on than it did for you, but you're a big anthology fan, we now have them.
We have them and an actress who is also getting a lot of praise in Dread It, who you interviewed, which is Deborah. I'm going to butcher it. I was practicing it. I mean...
So it was Ayorinde.
Ayorinde.
But the thing is, Joe, like you, at least you butchered it to me. I actually butchered it to the actress. I was like, just before we start, it's Deborah Ayorinde. It's like Inde. I'm like, darn. So, imagine being me in that moment.
Yeah. See, in those scenarios, I always make sure that my last name is showing.
Right.
Because if anyone gets offended by me mispronouncing their last name, I just throw it right back.
That's right. That's perfect.
Yeah.
That's a great tactic.
What are you going to do?
It's just like, all right, fine. I got your name wrong. You pronounce my name. Go ahead.
Say my name. Say my name.
That's
we even
good.
we say it, it's anglicized for your convenience.
That's good. That I might use that. I mean, mine is not as hard to say as yours. Yours is one of the tougher ones. I'd say if we were to go last name difficulty levels, mine would be between intermediate and expert. Yours is definitely expert level. What was it? Beginner, intermediate, expert. Yeah. So I'm somewhere in between there, but that's a great tactic. I think I'm going to use that moving forward.
You should. You should. It'll make you much more comfortable.
Right.
With dealing with difficult names. But no, so Deborah Ayorinde.
Yep.
She's getting a lot of love for the first season of Them, and now she's going to take the lead for season 2, Them, The Scare. This is going to take place in 1991.
Yep.
All right. Where Detective Dawn Reeve investigates the gruesome murder of a foster home mother in 1990s Los Angeles. So that would be really cool. We got Pam Grier on board.
Right. Oh, yes. Yeah. And she's awesome as ever. She is. But Deborah Ayorinde, I guess we'll play the interview, and then you can react to it, Joe.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. And I actually got to see about half of the first season, or half of the second season going in. So it was, I can tell you from what I've seen so far, I'm really creeped out. It's got some moment, like in the first episode. You know what's weird about them, the scare, Joe, so far that I've seen? The jump scares have been effective. That's not easy to do.
It's living up to its name.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. There's a moment at the end of the first episode that actually got me. I was here, we have the child now, so mom was putting the baby to bed, and I was just like, all right, well, let me start watching, and I did, and that was a big mistake because I was sitting in the living room in the dark by myself, and there was a jump scare at the end of episode 1 that got me pretty good.
Nice.
So anyway,
that's what we like to hear.
And
Let's check out.
I'm just to clarify, you're on the Reddits there, and they're speaking about Deborah's performance. Yeah.
A lot of high praise, giving her, next big horror actress. Like to see her in a, getting more of a movie role. Mm-hmm. So let's see what she has to say.
All right, here we go.
And I want to make sure I have your name. I don't want to say it wrong. It's Ayorinde.
Ayorinde. You were almost there. Ayorinde.
Almost. Ayorinde.
It's okay.
Well, thanks so much for joining. Just absolutely loved your character. Keeping it on the series, I guess, that in 1991, Los Angeles, a tumultuous time. Is there anything that you had to, I guess, refer back to, any resources, whether it be people who lived there at the time or, people in the police department that you had to, I guess, inform your character before playing?
Yeah. So my family and I actually moved to the Bay Area in the 90s, in the mid 90s. So not the early 90s. So I drew on a lot of my own personal memories of California at that time. And, I talked to my mom a lot about being like, trying to navigate California and being a single mom and kind of being working 3 jobs and just being like, being a Black woman and like working in spaces where there weren't a lot of her. I really pulled from a lot of kind of like the personal stories that were around me and my own kind of personal memories. So that's what allowed this season to feel like bittersweet nostalgia. Because there's a lot that I remember, which is crazy to say. It's a lot that I remember, and it feels so good to kind of, step into this time period because it really is bittersweet.
For you, you've obviously seen the final product, which comes out on April 25th. What was the scariest moment from the viewer side of it, when you actually got to see it? What was the scariest thing you recall?
Scariest thing. Because I don't want to spoil.
Sure.
But one of the things, there were a few kind of like stunty things that I had to do that I was kind of watching that, you know what I mean? There's also a kind of tragic thing that happens in the latter part of the season that was terrifying for me to watch. Yeah.
I guess we can't spoil. So then there's one question I was dying to ask. So there's a scene where your son finds you, and your face, like it's terrifying. Like he comes downstairs and he sees you on the couch, and it's just like, oh my gosh. Now that was like, to me, like a real moment. Now was that all you, or did they do something?
That was all me. Yeah, I'm pretty like. I'm realizing that my mind also, just like Little Marvin, my mind is also kind of, out there. So when he asked me to do certain things, I'm like, oh yeah, I get it. So literally when they were like, okay, we want you to be on the couch, stay completely still and do this kind of smile that is like super sinister. I was like, say less. I knew exactly, I could see it in my brain and I just did it. So yeah, that was all me. That wasn't any kind of CGI.
Well, Deborah, congratulations. I can't wait to see the rest of the series. Thank you so much. Thanks for your time today.
Thank you.
So that was a fun little interview. I'm a little mad that I wasn't able to make it for the scheduled for press junket, because her energy was so good. I mean, I don't think anybody understands how many of those she's been doing. And you almost got her to spoil some of the series. She didn't bite.
I know. And Joe, I'm glad you picked up on that, because that's the thing. And you never know who's going to hear the Red River podcast, Red River Horror podcast. We'll see who's tuning in. But I that's one of the things I try, and I actually try it with Joshua as well, just because I can't. You've been a part of these, Joe. You know, we as the broadcaster, the platform or whatever, we can't spoil it. We can't talk about anything and give it away. But it's just like, but maybe we can get the actor too. So that's what I tried. So I'm glad you picked up on that. I wasn't successful though, as you saw.
I mean, and from what you've said so far is that the title, The Scare, this has been living up to it. Some good jump scares in the teasers that in the screeners been checking out. And how happy she was that one part was all her. No prosthetics, a sinister smile.
Yep.
What great energy coming from Ms. I'm going to do it.
It's all right. Ayorinde.
Ayorinde. I don't know why, but, it's just going to keep happening. And she was totally cool about it. So she's definitely an understander of the last name.
That's what, because again, you've been a part of this. I was just worried. I'm like, oh man, I wonder how many in my interview was. So it's just like, she's going to be mad. She's going to be so mad at me. And after seeing, her character, and I just want to say LAPD homicide detective at that time. She plays Dawn Reeve.
She's the lead.
She's the lead. So it's just very, very powerful performance. She did a great job. Scared the hell out of me early on. So I can't wait to see the rest of the series, Joe.
Yeah, and for those who don't know, them is a primarily black cast. This is from a black perspective. It is a black. This is trying to be a staple in that black horror subgenre. But hey, all horror is good horror. And it's nice it's a nice shake up to have different stories from different perspectives. Because we've seen, in our lifetime, we have the standard horror movies. We can go back to the classics with your Hitchcocks and your Vincent Prices, to your John Carpenters, to your Wes Cravens, so on and so forth. And now we've gotten to see the evolution where we had the Japanese time, and we got to see Japanese perspectives. Korea has been pumping out some great stuff. And it's nice to see the Black American community pumping out their stuff. Jordan Peele really raised the bar.
Yeah, he won an Oscar on his first film, Joe. That's pretty freaking cool.
Yeah. And it's nice because little things like that create opportunities for other people, for studios to invest, for other people to have creative stories. And if there's anything we complain about, there's too much rehashing, too many remakes. So anything original, I am more than open to it. So then The Scare, Deborah's energy, your energy, the way I hear about it. I'm stoked to watch this on April 25th.
Was I a little too excited, Joe?
No, I think she liked that.
Okay, good. I was just like, because I was, it was exciting. You watch something, and then you meet the person that plays the character that you're just like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. So all right.
Based on her body language. So, and we'll post that video on the YouTube page. People can see it.
Yep.
Yeah.
YouTube.
Based on her body language, when you asked her a question, especially about the scene with the sinister smile, she got very excited to brag about that. So,
yep. It was pretty cool.
Is a really good energy there. So she it's made me excited to see it.
Well, so I had one more stop with the cast.
Okay, I'm Eddie Cayazzo from RedRiverHorror.com, and happy to be joined by Joshua J. Williams from the new series, season 2 of the series, Them, The Scare, coming out April 25th. Joshua, welcome.
How you doing, man? How you doing? Nice to meet you.
Doing great. Great to meet you as well. So, watching through the series, your character, Kel Reeve, you played the son of our main character, Dawn. Just some of the situations you found yourself in through this show. If you're allowed to share, what was the scariest that came out on the final product? So the scariest moment for you when you watched it back? You're like, oh my gosh, that came out really creepy. Scariest moment involving your character.
Oh man. If I can't say, well, I don't want to say everything, but let me just say, whenever whoever watches this, whenever they see episode 4 towards the ending, that's when things start getting crazy. You know what I'm saying? So I would say everything that I'm in from episode 4 to 8. Yeah, that was a little horrible.
And I'm sorry, forgive my ignorance here. How old are you?
I'm 22.
So you experienced already then being a 15-year-old in that situation. Anything you could relate to from the story with your character? Any experiences you had as a person that you experienced in the script?
Yeah. I think one thing that I always talked about was like with Kel, his parents are in a divorcing stage, like they got divorced, and same as mine. Same as mine. When I was about 13 years old, my parents got divorced, so I just used my emotions and feelings that I was feeling from that incident in my personal life, and I used it towards the character because it wasn't that far off. Like when I shot it when I was 20. The character itself is 15, but I experienced them going through that whole situation when I was about 13 years old. So I still remember the feelings that I had within that moment from my personal experience. I put that into it, and I put a couple of other things as well. But I mean, that's the most important thing I would say, because it shows on screen how I'm really affected to it. Like that's how I really was. I was saddened from that. I missed my father. You know what I'm saying? I stayed with my mom, but you know, me and my mom clashed just like Kel and his mom clashed. You know what I'm saying? Like so a lot of it I have related to. But I'm glad that I had, you know, something like that to relate to because it made the character stronger.
Yeah, absolutely. Powerful moment with your father in episode 2 or 3, I think it was. But Joshua, thank you so much. They're giving me the hook here. So, but can't wait to see the rest of the series, and congratulations.
For sure. Thank you, man. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you.
Thanks.
And that was your interview with Joshua J. Williams. Really nice how you got him to bring out how he got into the character, how he related to the character. Funny, like the age difference kind of threw him off a little bit. You're like, how old are you? It's like character's 15. I'm looking forward to it because I have not seen an episode yet, and I'm April 25th. I will be watching, and that's on Prime Video, which I don't know. I only know one person who is anti Prime Video, refuses to do anything with it, or just Prime in general. So
really,
yeah. I mean, what are you going to do? But Prime Video has been pumping out some really good content.
Yes,
you know, outside of the horror space. But what's funny? The funny thing is, Rings of Power was like one of the most expensive produced shows of all time, and they kind of missed the mark on that. But hey, what are you going to do? Fallout's been huge, and hopefully The Scare is something that launches this anthology series to the next level.
I'm very excited to see the end. And of course, you heard Joshua say there that of course the best stuff is the stuff that we weren't allowed to see before, which is fine. I totally get it. That's what makes great television, Joe. But yeah, we should watch some of this together. I know with Prime Video, it allows us to be in different places, but as we get closer to the end, as we kind of creep towards the end of watching this show, we should maybe do a little Red River Horror finale party when we both get
follow up.
Yeah.
So just based on what you've seen, you're seeing this is like they're really building towards something and already taking advantage of like a lot of good jump scare action and, you know, really developing the storyline, and it's going to come to a head at some point.
Joe, it's crazy that like the acting is just really good.
Yeah.
I know it's not. I'm not being biased because like I spoke to some of the actors. Like I'm very impressed. Like that this is a horror series, and like I'm really invested in these characters. Like everybody plays it at the right time. Like there's this great episode. This great moment in the episode. It was funny when I was talking to Joshua J. Williams, and he said his parents split up. When he was younger, 13, I think. So his character's 15. In the show, probably his Parents split up around the same time. There's this great moment, this great conversation with his dad, like in the bleachers. Like, it kind of takes us away from the horror for a moment. And, because he's a kid. He's a kid in high school. And he's going through all these things. I mean, think about it. Los Angeles, 91. Your mom's a homicide detective during that time. You're going through a lot of things. And he has this great moment with his dad on the show that it's kind of like after I spoke to him and I saw that, I'm like, huh. Like, this is really impressive. So I wouldn't say it would be about the jump scares. I think one thing you're going to like about it, Joe, is early on, there's a lot of great music.
Yeah.
But yes, the soundtrack to it is unbelievable. It's a little, at times, it's a little, like, so, all right. So for instance, Welcome to the Jungle's in there somewhere. So it's like, all right, yes, early 90s, Welcome to the Jungle. But everything else is fantastic. Like the soundtrack to it is it's almost as if there's like Little Marvin's an MTV fan, the writer, producer, director of this series.
Yeah.
It's almost as if he was like a huge fan of the times,
That's great though. That's what you want in a period production. Having the right music, just not just the stereotypical. It's like, oh, well, this was number one at that time, or
right.
Picking something that wasn't released for another 3 years, but being like, meh, it doesn't matter. Like, staying on point is a huge thing. As long as you're picking the right songs, I mean, that can really elevate your show.
Yep. So, and one thing we forgot so far.
Yeah.
And just because you didn't get to see the early stuff, holy crap, Luke James, the actor, he plays Edmund. This guy he's like I'm saying, like just the acting is so good in this show so far. So he takes you from sympathetic, like he's this person trying to make it as an actor, and you see I think it's even in the trailer, you see his audition, and LA's a killer, Hollywood's a killer. You see his audition, and he's playing like a gangsta thug type person, and he just blows it, like, and everyone's kind of laughing at him, and he's sympathetic in that moment, like he has that moment where he's like the Arthur Fleck type character in Joker, and then all of a sudden, you see him, his reaction to that later on, and he doesn't really take it so well, and he turns into a very scary person. So he's sympathetic, he's terrifying, and then he's also like in a Chuck E. Cheese type role, like is his day job, playing this character for like the kids at this Chuck E. Cheese type place out there. Luke James, unbelievable. Like, Joe, I just can't get over how good the acting, to call this a horror series, the acting's just really, really strong, man.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, no, I'm actually really like after those interviews, I'm legit looking forward to it. Just how excited Deborah and Joshua were. I'm like, yeah, I'm in. I'm in. And then you saying that we got some good jump scares, and we love a good jump scare. Our last episode, we were talking about the first Omen and how the jump scares in that were so good.
They worked,
so,
yeah.
Now we have Them the Scare on April 25th. You got to get in on that.
Exciting times, Joe. So thank you. And I will, yes, it will be, we have a lot of stuff coming your way. We might even be announcing a live event soon, Joe. There's so much that developed since this episode, a lot of stuff going on at the site, a lot of reviews live. You have Sting, that review's live now. The horror preview, which is chock full of stuff to watch this month.
Loaded.
As well as Them the Scare. So there is so much coming, Joe, and we might even be able to announce it next week. Everything
That's very
we got.
exciting.
Yes.
Yeah. Finally, all the pieces are starting to fit and the ball is starting to roll.
Yeah.
But hey, you know where to follow us on, at Red River Horror on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, redriverhorror.com, all those good things. Eddie, do we got anything else to add?
Just subscribe, give us a review on Spotify, Apple iTunes, or no, iTunes, I'm sorry, it's Apple Music now. But that really helps us go a long way. Subscribe to the YouTube channel and the Instagram, because I will be posting those interviews. You actually see the video of the interviews that you heard in today's show.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a wonderful thing. And also more abandoned content. If you haven't been checking that out, take a look. So some creepy stuff, some good stuff. And other than that, this has been episode number 108 of the Red River Horror Podcast. Don't forget to check out Them the Scare, April 25th on Prime Video. And remember to keep traveling those channels of fear.